everyone. Welcome to Beyond Our World. I'm your host, Jeff Freeman, along with
John Edwards, Beyond Our World.
John. How you doing tonight?
Hey, what's going on?
Man, I tell you what, a lot is going on. Actually, this has been an exciting weekend. We've had a lot of stuff going on, and we just had a little bit of time to meet with one of our two special guests that we're going to have on here tonight. And this particular gentleman was a witness to a UFO incident, and we're going to talk about that in just a minute. I want to give a few shout outs.
Sure.
Let's see who we've got. Oh, Tom Burns is out there. Hey, Tom. Curtis. BC St. Jean is here. Wanda's here. Kat's here. A lot of our Oak Island friends are here tonight. Yep. Now, this particular gentleman, the guy we're going to bring on here, Laurie Wickens, is he's a Nova Scotia resident. And he has lived there, I think, his entire life, but he'll tell us all about that here in just a couple minutes. But we're going to be talking about the Shag Harbour UFO incident that happened in October 4th, 1967. And this is crazy. I mean, we've had a chance to meet with Laurie and talk about some of this stuff. Man, oh man, I tell you what, this is really, really, really interesting.
Yeah. It's going to be awesome. I mean, we've talked about it, and so many of our viewers have asked for this, Jeff.
Yeah.
Because of proximity to Oak Island and Mahone Bay.
Right.
And there it is. It's about an hour and a half from Mahone Bay, southwest slightly.
Yep.
And, you know, the fact it's even in the area fascinates me. So we're going to see what Mr. Laurie has to say.
And what's interesting for me, and, and I like to think that I keep up with some of this stuff, UFO related and things that are going on. I had heard about this, but really didn't know anything about it. And then, like you said, a lot of our viewers said they wanted to get some information about it and said, you guys should do a show on this. And I thought, oh, well, let's talk. And then you found Laurie.
Yeah. And I said, Jeff, he's going on the show. He wants to go. And that was,
this is great. And he's done a few of these. So yeah, he's going to be ready to go. Hey, folks, stick around for our second hour because we have coming on the show Christian Roper. Now, Christian Roper, as you well know, most of you know, is he was on the very first episode of Beyond Oak Island. He was with Maddie Blake. They were out at the Eastern Texas, out at the Hendricks Lake area, and they were looking for in the lake for the possible treasure left behind or ditched there by Jean Lafitte, privateer that was back in the day. Now he's been spending some time down in Guatemala, and he's got some interesting things to show us that he has. So that's coming up in our second hour. So you're going to want to stick around for that. That'll be Christian Roper, and I'll send him the invite here in just a little bit as we get rolling here. So now we're going to be talking about first the Shag Harbour UFO incident, and I am going to go ahead and bring up our special guest, Laurie Wickens. All right, Laurie, how you doing, sir?
Hey, Laurie.
Fine.
Now, Laurie, you actually live there in Shag Harbour now, correct?
Yes.
All right, and you actually witnessed what took place. Now, I know that this when in the research that I've done on, and we're going to let you just talk and tell us all about this, but in the research that I've done about this, I found that there was a lot of witnesses to this particular event. Is that correct?
Yes, there was a great many people. There was at least 40 people that watched it after it come in the water. We'll get to that later. But there was 12 calls to the RCMP that night. Everybody reported a plane crash. The second call was an RCMP officer on duty who called it in, and he reported a plane crash.
Now, RCMP, is that mounted police?
Royal Canadian Mounted Police, yes.
All right, okay. Yeah, just to clarify that, for some of us Americans that might not know exactly.
Okay, yeah. There was Canada's police force, and that's who they have for police in this area.
Right.
Not a town or not local or not provincial. It was, and I knew he had called it in. Me and him, I used to play poker with him back then. But he was the second one to call it in. And believe me, if the government could have made this gone away and said it was flares or anything, they would have. They just had too many credible witnesses.
Yep.
Everybody called in a plane crash.
Right.
Because everybody goes to the police station and wants to see the UFO file. The police, even today, if you report a UFO, the police have got an extensive file they got to fill out, which they did back then.
Oh, wow.
There is none on this.
So,
Man.
so
because it wasn't reported as a UFO.
Right.
It was called in as a plane crash. It's Canada's most famous UFO, and nobody reported it. It was reported. The government classified it as a UFO on Friday.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Before that, it was a messing plane. Everybody was looking at boats and was out searching that night for plane wreckage.
Yeah. Now that's what's interesting is that initially it as it traveled down. Now I'm trying to understand. I guess it came down through like across Mahone Bay area. I guess heading toward the south, and people saw it all the way from along there. Is that how that was?
It was seen. There was numerous ones of them seen that night throughout the province, everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow!
From far as Halifax, far as up to Graham and New Brunswick, the Sainers report them. Sainers report them up off of Yarmouth. The fishing dragger off of St. Margaret's Bay off of Halifax. That reported one that had 4 on his radar or whatever it is in one of them stories.
Wow!
Wow!
Yeah, yeah. That was. Let's see. I have that report up here. That was the. It talks about from the Halifax International Airport. But let's see. There was the. I just had. Oh, here it is. Captain Leo Harvey. I'm sorry. Captain Leo Howard Mercy. He saw 4 blips on his radar. Yeah. And then they were stationary. So then they went out and they looked up in the air and they saw that actually had visual sighting of these things, I guess, from the boat.
Wow.
Yeah, they was out fishing or on the way in or something. But yeah, that was down towards Halifax.
Yeah. Wow. And then I guess and so a lot of people witnessed and saw these lights at different points, but then something happened. And then, but go ahead and take us through part of your.
I'll tell you what we happened to see, and then we can talk about whatever else happened along with it that we found out later throughout the years.
All right.
And yeah, it was a Wednesday night, you got to remember.
Okay.
And the only reason why I was out, a friend of mine had bought a car that day.
Ah.
And he never had no license, and he wanted me to drive him around. Other than that, I'd have been home in the house and never seen him, been bothered with that thing. So yeah, we'll make a joke of it. But so we was out driving around. We happened to be in Barrington by the old theater.
Mm-hmm.
And there was 3 girls out that we went to school with and stuff. And we got talking to them. They asked if we'd give them a ride home. And we said, do you want to ride home? And we was taking them home to Woods Harbour. It's the only reason why we was going up to Shag Harbour. And if you get up about a mile this side, come back this way towards Barrington or towards Shelburne from where it went in the water.
Mm-hmm.
Off to the right and over the land, not out over the water, because everybody takes it for granted that thing was seen out over the water. It wasn't over the land.
Oh, wow.
We see lights and just took it for granted it was a plane. Like, see lights flashing, but there was 4 in a row. One would come on, the second one would come on, the third one would come on, the fourth one would come on. The whole 4 lights would be on for a second. They'll all go out just like that, and then they'll start coming on again, one after the other, till the whole 4 would back on, and the whole 4 would go out. And that's done. That was happening the whole time we see it. And we was driving west, and it was in over the land, and it seemed to be going no faster than we was, and it was going along with us. But back then, you didn't know if it was going right with us or if it was coming on an angle, which could make it go faster. It still only be going no faster than we would, but and as we went up a ways and turned around the corner and started going up a hill, and just before we made the top of the hill, the light went from going level, they're still flashing, to on a 45-degree angle.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And just before we made the top of the hill, we lost sight of it. And when we made the top of the hill, we see one light in the water.
So one light went in the water.
You hear stories. We stopped there and done all this stuff. There's all different reports. We never. We were right. We knew where there was a phone booth. Back then, there's all pay phones on the side of the road. Different places we went. There's a telephone booth up the road, probably 3 miles farther. And called it, like you called the operator. Then I got the operator and called the RCMP. And I called him and I reported a plane crash. And I remember I knew him too, because we used to race. We had faster cars than he did. He couldn't catch him. Anyhow, the first thing he asked me, he said, "What you been drinking?" I said, "That man." I told him to see a plane crash. Anyhow, but he got the number for the phone booth. But then I went to leave to go and trying to get in the car and it rang. And then he wanted to know where we see it in the water. And And there's a building there right in a big parking lot where they used to buy Irish moss. We call it the moss plant. So we told him to buy the moss plant. So it don't mean nothing to you folks, but that's where that was a barren for him to parking lot to go do that night.
Right.
So anyhow, so we went back there, and as we got back there, we could see the light in the water, and we hauled in, and there's a couple other cars come. Then the first cop come, which would have been Ron Paul, the guy that was on duty.
Mm-hmm.
I knew he'd seen it and called it in, but I didn't realize till a few years ago. I just found out he was the second call.
Oh, really?
Oh, wow.
He was the second call that called it in, and he was out on duty, and he was seeing it, and he reported it, and he called in a plane crash. But he didn't have no idea if it went down on land or water from where he was.
Okay.
He just see it go down. And there's more cars come, and then the other two police come, and we watched the light for quite a while, and they got a hold of some fishing boats to go out. Some of the people left to go out on the fishing boat to look for debris, and the light was still drifting down. And then we started walking down the road, and from where we see it, where we was at, we must have walked down the road 300 yards or so uphill and down, and the light was drifting down in ahead of us. So the light was still in the water then, must have been close to an hour. The light just went out.
So it was floating.
Whether the light went off, whether the light didn't stay on and go underwater, you'd have seen it going underwater. The light just went out. So whether that thing was submerged, it went underwater, or whether it's still sitting there, we couldn't see nothing, but the light went out. Wow. And yeah, the fishing boats went out. They never found nothing. Or they was out there, then the Coast Guard come into Shag Harbour and come into the upper wharf in Shag Harbour and picked up me and Ron O'Brien, the other police officer. And we went out, and there was nothing found that night.
Wow.
So when you saw this, it was how far out from the shore was it?
When it was drifting down, boy, we just got in somewhere between 300 and 500 yards from the shore.
Wow. Okay. And it was just covered.
It was probably 1,000 yards up past where we see it drop by Empire when we first see it, or 700 yards. Right. And it drifted down by, and it probably drifted a kilometer or more before the light went out. That's how long it was in the water.
Wow.
And everybody says it was going under his own power and different things. A few years ago, I was talking to Chris Stiles. I said, we can prove that whether it's going under its own power or not. Find out what the tide was doing. Because if it was in tide, it was drifting with the tide. Mm-hmm. And if it was flood tide, it was going under its own power because it would have been going against the tide. And he went researching, he found out it was in tide. So whatever it was just drifting with the tide. That's how slow it was going.
Right. So, and that's interesting because now when you had mentioned earlier that it was a plane crash, did you actually see, like, you know, when you
we never see nothing in the water. We lost sight of it from the time we was going up the hill.
It was going down.
A few years later, in the last few years, we have found two witnesses that actually did see it go in the water.
Oh, really?
Wow.
One was a couple part right there on top of the hill. Her and a bunch of friends was in a house one night. A friend of mine. That's a few years ago, and they got talking about this, and somebody said, "I don't believe that." And this woman spoke up. I won't say her name because she wouldn't know what it. She spoke up and said it happened because she said it's true because me and my boyfriend at the time was parking there, and we see the whole thing and we see it go in the water.
Wow.
And then one of the lighthouse keepers' wives would happen to see it. She called woke her husband up. He went and got the head lighthouse keeper, and that's what she told him, that she'd seen a plane crash, and they called her crazy and everything else. So Coast Guard showed up there, and then they called them from New Brunswick. They called the lighthouse keepers and told them to get out and look and all that kind of stuff. Then they knew something really happened.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
I'm going to bring up a picture here just so our viewers can get an idea. This is actually a map of the area of Nova Scotia, and I will show this here real quick. Okay, so looking at this map here, up here is the Mahone Bay. Here's Halifax, and this is Mahone Bay area.
Yep.
And down here on the south end.
Right where you got your arrow now, that's roughly right where it was in the water, somewhere in that range, right there.
Okay, yeah. So that's where it went down. So many people, and you said, as you were talking this, like you said, a lot of people were saying that it was sighted over water, but you said, no, it was sighted over land. So it was moving down this way. So while you live down here.
You see the W in Woods Harbor. It was going in over. It was in over there and going towards the water. It was going. Yeah, it was going that way. Now move you. Yeah, that's how it was going across there, somewhat.
Okay.
That's the direction it was going in.
Wow. Yeah, because that was my impression when I heard about this, that it was over water the whole time, but it wasn't.
No, it was in over the land where we see it.
It was over land.
Yeah, everybody takes it for granted it was in over the water, but it wasn't. It ended up in the water. But...
Yeah.
And so it was over land until it was distressed and something happened, and then it went off trajectory is what it sounds like.
Yes.
And we've had a couple comments. What happened to the other 3 craft that were with the 4th? Do we know?
I only see one that night.
Okay.
But the house it went over in Woods Harbor to go in the water, the people that lived there claimed there was 2.
Okay.
I don't know if one went in the water before I see that one I did, or one after when I was on the phone booth. I don't know. I don't know if there was one. I only see one.
Right.
So the 4
but
were...
if you listen to Normie Smith, he's one of the witnesses.
Yep.
Him and David Kendrick was together. They was coming from Cape Island, going towards Shag Harbour. They was in what they call the backwoods in Bear Point. Bear Point and Shag Harbour is next.
Okay.
I got David's and Normie's statement both, and they said they see the lights coming down, like on the 45-degree angles, all they see. It disappeared. David stopped and let Normie out, and then he kept on going home to his mother, who lived in Shag Harbour, just a little right by where the post office is, but just before you get where the museum is today.
Okay.
He went in the house and told his mother, he said, we just see a plane crash, and he cracked on and went to bed. He didn't even tell her, he didn't even call in.
Wow.
So there's people there who see it and never reported it.
Yeah.
So anyhow, Normie's seen it already once, right?
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly the same one we see go down. Normie goes home and is telling his father about it anyhow, and they come out for some reason. And then Normie tells about seeing this lights and this stuff and that. And I said, you must have seen, because Peter Gorham claims he sees something. I said, you must have seen what Peter sees. And he said, no, what we see is right up, where he lived now. He pointed right up the moss plant. It was right up there. He said the lights was up there and they went down. If that's the case, he see 2 that night. Because him and David were together once to see one. David let him out. David went home and Normie see one after that. So that ain't the same one. So Normie...
So there were originally 4, and then when you guys saw them, there were 2.
Supposedly 2 here that we know of.
Okay, that you know.
The people in the houses reported 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Normie's the only other one I know. He don't say he sees 2. He talks about seeing that one, but if you listen to his story and his times and where he was, he sees 2 and probably not real. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
We only see 1.
Yeah, the report from the boat talked about 4, but again, that was well north of you.
He was running at Halifax. That's 3 hours drive from here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and they talked about seeing 4 blips on the radar, and then they went out on deck, and there was 20 people on this fishing boat, or thereabouts. I think it said.
There's a skull dragger, I think it was. So there was.
Yeah, it says the entire crew of nearly 20 fishermen stood on deck and watched the object in the northern sky. And then they said Mercy radioed the Rescue Coordination Center and the harbor master in Halifax requesting for an explanation, and filed a report in the Lunenburg RCMP outlining his sighting that when they arrived in port. So they were out at sea. They saw these 4 blips. They went out on deck, witnessed to seeing them, the lights, and then that was it. So I was wondering, and I know that Laurie, you talk about seeing only 1, and it was on. You said it was coming down at about a 45-degree angle.
That was in the end of it. It was going along level for most of the distance.
Right. So I was wondering, man, when they see those 4 lights, so a lot of times we see, UFO footage that is actually lights in the sky. You see different lights, but you wonder, are they part of the same craft or are they separate craft? So that we don't know. We unfortunately we just
don't even know what he see or what he thought. But
right. So that's very interesting. And one of our viewers that's watching right now asked the question. He asked, "What?" And this is just your opinion. of this. You know, a lot of times we see these lights. Why do you suppose they light up like that? Well, you would think that they would want to be, not lit up so we can't see them, but it's kind of interesting that they would be lit up. Do you have any kind of thought on that at all? That's what he's
Got no
asking.
idea. We just thought it was a plane, and these lights weren't bright, but they weren't normal like a plane. You got to remember back then we hadn't had television very many years. So you used to listen to on the radio Saturday night.
Yep.
But we hadn't heard tell of the word UFO, so why would anybody report one?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's very true. 1967. You're exactly right. Yep. Yeah, and you didn't have one of these to go snap pictures of it or anything. It's funny you talk about the payphones. That's very interesting. It takes me back a few years too.
Yeah,
John,
so.
Go ahead, John.
Well, I was going to say, normally airplanes have, and I have to go back and research the 67 on their underbelly. So what you witnessed, was the glow like an airplane lights would have glowed, or was it a much brighter kind of?
The lights weren't bright.
Okay, they were faint.
So you had no trouble to see it. It's something like the color of a light bulb. It wasn't more like the color of them ones over there. You can see the light bulbs in the house there.
Yep.
Okay.
But I'm getting the reflection. They looking way brighter than they are. It was a yellowish orangish light, but not bright. It's all I can tell you.
And no flashing lights or anything.
Just no, they weren't flashing. They was coming on and staying steady till the whole four come on. Then the whole four all went off at once, and one would come on, 2, 3, 4, and they was in a straight line, one behind the other.
Wow.
And we guessing they was about 20 feet apart. They might have been 200 feet apart. Who knows? We don't know how far away it was.
Yeah, that's very true. Yep.
Somebody said when you get some people said it's 60 feet across or whatever. Who knows? I never said none of that. I just said I ain't got no idea.
Yeah. Wow. So
the cameras reported too. And 1 week to the day later, the cameras called in to the RCMP again, and they had to go up. They reported seeing 2 this was in the afternoon. They reported seeing 2 come out of the water and going out over the bay.
Oh, wow.
That's in police records. Well, that's not my story. That's somebody else's.
Now, where did they come out? Did they come out there?
Right out of that bay, right where they went in. Right off in front of their house somewhere. How far out? I don't know whether it's 500 yards or 2 miles.
Right. And that kind of makes sense as I think about it. If that was traveling over land and they were in trouble in some sort of way, they're not going to want to crash on land if they can avoid that. They're going to want to crash into the water.
Did it crash? We say it crashed, which it might not have been crashed. It might have been controlled. You got to remember, I was traveling no faster than we were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You stop and think about it now. I mean, back then you just see lights on you. But what did we have that can fly that slow? Other than a helicopter, there would be no reason to cover it up. No reason not to find it.
Nope.
Right.
Nope.
Right.
If it was an airplane, we never had nothing to fly that slow.
Right.
A super cub or something like that, or an ultralight. Well, there wasn't no such thing as ultralight then. It's a super cub. To fly that slow would have needed probably a 20-mile-an-hour westerly wind, and there was no wind that night, so it wasn't.
Yep. Now I guess did some divers come out? Did the military show up?
The military. The next day. No, it was Friday, not the next day. Next day would be Thursday. Friday, they sent up divers from Halifax off to the. I don't know the name. There was a diving ship that the Navy divers used to dive off of.
Okay.
And it says that come here. That didn't come here. The divers from that come here, and we went out with us and me and one of the Ron O'Brien, the 2 Mounties, both was named Ron, one's O'Brien, one's Pond. Went out on the Coast Guard picture on the boat. There's pictures of us out in the museum on the boat going out that day. And we got up there. They was going to put the divers over to see if they could find anything. And we got up, half a mile or so from where I thought they should have been, and they slowed up the engines in. I said, Captain, I said, what you stopping there for? And somebody spoke up and said, that's where we're diving. I said, well, this ain't where we should be. We should be where you now. He said, this is where we're diving. And I just looked at Ron O'Brien, the Mountie, and said, they ain't going to find nothing there. They put the divers over. Then if you read the report on it after, when the Coast Guard filled it out, about how long they dove and everything, and nothing was found, blah, blah, blah. The divers weren't in the water 15 minutes.
Wow.
But, and everybody's asked me how many times I was questioned and all this. I know the guys on the Coast Guard and all the government people was hauled into the offices and questioned days on end. I've never talked to nobody from the government officially. Never.
Wow.
I think why they wanted to know is roughly where we see it. And they wasn't going to find nothing with a civilian aboard that boat. The crew of the boats don't want to talk, won't say nothing. All they will say is, yeah, they took divers out.
So that okay.
So
yeah,
the divers come Friday, Saturday and Sunday they went out for the day.
right.
Sunday when they come in, they officially called the search off.
That's and I've got there's a.
You've got that record right there, right?
Yeah,
Remember.
I'm going to bring this up here real quick. Let's see here. There we go. Shark. Not a trace, not a clue, not a bit of.
That's in Monday's paper.
Yeah, Monday,
Wow,
October 9th, 1967.
So the search was called off Sunday night, if you read that.
Mm-hmm.
Halifax Chronicle Star.
So anyhow, so Monday, 4 more divers show up.
Mm-hmm.
They go to the house, the next door house, he had their own private wharf. They put all the gear in it. And they go out to search. And then Wednesday morning when they go out, they have stuff for all day. They come in down a dime. Take something out of the boat that they never took out with them. Or they unloaded in the van, took all the gear and left. Wednesday afternoon, the search was officially called off again. Now, how many times can it be called off?
Yeah.
Now, here I've got the name of the divers that was there the second time.
Okay.
Okay.
The house that they was going out of, the cops come there and the brass hands out who the divers were taking the divers out anyhow. They would make notes and everything they threw in the garbage can. When there was nobody around, brass wife went and gathered everything up. And I've got it all. She made a scrapbook. She gave it to the museum the other year.
Wow. Oh, wow.
And it gives the name of the 4 divers that was there.
Oh, wow.
They're not Canadian divers.
Oh, not Canadian.
They're not, what?
Canadian divers, you can't tell them it's trying to nowhere.
Oh, wow.
Are they military?
Had to be American military.
Wow.
Oh.
Get me? Not Canadian. You can't find the names. The first one was Canadian military from the Navy.
Right.
The next ones that showed up were not Canadian.
Wow.
Chris Collins tried to find them. He's tried to track them down. They're not in the Canadian military. So.
Wow. No record of these divers anywhere in Canada.
Not in the Canadian military, no.
Wow. That's interesting. And you have that in a scrapbook in the museum?
I got a scrapbook. I got the name down the phone cabinet somewhere.
Wow.
Oh, man.
They've got to be able to be traced, Jeff. I mean, if it's U.S. military.
Just have a bother. He tracked them here and they're not the Canadians, so that meant they had to be American.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
If he wanted to interview them or anything, I got an idea he would have tracked them down, but he just said they're not American.
Well, that begs the question: why is U.S. military and Canadian warriors looking?
Yeah, exactly. They had to go.
That night, right?
Whoa!
They flew up here from the Pentagon. They were to the base 8 o'clock the next morning.
Yep.
They don't deny it. Anyhow, a few years ago, we had one of the conferences up here at the museum, and there was a guy that was at the radios at the base in Backrow, the Air Force base, the radar base. And that's what he modern radios, and he was on duty that night.
Mm-hmm.
And anyhow, we got talking. I said they flew up to Greenwood and come down here in a helicopter. He looked at me. I was from the Pentagon. He looked at me and said, "No, they never." Well, I thought he was going to tell me they never come here from the Pentagon.
Right.
That ain't what he told me. He said they never flew to Greenwood. He said they flew to shit. See, I just took it Greenwood. We just guessed it was Greenwood because Greenwood had a helicopter there. And that's the closest base to Barrington. But they flew to Shearwater, which is the Navy base. It's got all the helicopters to start with. So that's where they would have flew.
Right.
Yeah.
He said they never flew to Greenwood. They flew to Shearwater. He didn't deny they didn't come here from the Pentagon. He just denied that I had the wrong airport.
Yeah, he was keeping it.
He didn't deny that, and that is public knowledge. So.
Wow. That's very interesting. Yeah.
All right, somebody wrote on here about that. That's the first I've heard of U.S. military involvement with the Shag Harbour, as I thought divers and military involvement was Canadian. Yeah, they were until Sunday. Anyhow, about Sunday, an American Navy ship arrived up off of Bon Portage, between Bon Portage and Seal Island.
Mm-hmm.
That stayed there even after the divers and everything was called off. That boat laid there for about 10 days until it come thick fog one night. Then when the fog lifted, whenever the fog lifted, the ship was gone. So whatever was found, that boat come in in the fog, hoisted aboard whatever they found and left with.
Wow. Now they have their capability. They did have the capabilities of creating their own fog banks back then.
No, that's what they didn't know. That's it was natural fog.
Oh, is it? Okay. All right. I was going to say,
the problem was salt, but yes.
Wow.
Glenda Summers wrote, Dan, there were 2 U.S. military bases in the area until the end of the Cold War.
Yeah.
Well, there were 2 military bases.
Yeah, Linda's from up there in that area, so she's got some information on this as well, apparently. I think she might have been one of the ones that was telling us to look into this.
Wow. I'm shocked that the U.S. was involved in this.
Well, in the 50s, the U.S. built a secret military base, Navy base, in Shelburne.
Mm-hmm.
They also, in the 50s, built an Air Force base, a radar base in Backrow of Barrington.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knew about the Backrow Air Force base in Barrington.
Mm-hmm.
Until 1963, it was manned by American Air Force.
Really?
Wow.
After that, it was turned over to Canadians.
Mm-hmm.
So in 67, the Air Force base was manned by Canadians in 67. In 63, it was all American.
Unbelievable.
Now, the Navy base that was built in Shelburne, nobody didn't even know it was a Navy base. All they knew was buildings there. Can you see this?
Yes.
Can you see what it is?
It looks like some sort of underground tunnel there that's set up.
That is a tunnel.
Yeah.
That was built under the Navy base in Shelburne.
Really?
Whoa.
It runs out into the ocean for 5 miles.
Really?
What?
To listen for submarines during the Cold War.
Yep. Okay. Yeah,
Oh.
it was a listening station.
That's what that was. They used to ride a bicycle to go back and forth out to the end of it.
Wow. Yeah, that was a listening station.
Remember during the Cold War, the Americans were scared of the Russians?
Yep.
They knew they had, 48 nuclear submarines?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, the fact is they had 12.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Every time they took one into port or into the harbor to repair and stuff, they changed the pitch in the propeller.
Ah, uh-huh.
And when it went back to sea, it had a different sound.
Yep.
So they was counting for a different sound. So if they had 12 and they done it four times each one, that give them 48 submarines.
Wow.
Jeez. Whoa.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Tom Burns said it was reported that a joint U.S.-Canada military search was carried out. So, okay. So
it was, but it was kept. They don't tell it that way.
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. That makes sense.
All right. In the meantime, on Bon Portage Island, they did find something.
On where again?
Bon Portage Island. That's the island outside of it.
Okay.
And the lighthouse keeper's wife who see it go in the water that night. It was her husband found it on the beach the next day. Whatever it was he found, he brought it off. 2 weeks later, he was told by Coast Guard to bring it off and turn it over to whoever met him on the wharf. Well, some American met him with more medals on and a big white uniform, and he gave it to an American.
Whoa.
Yeah. Wow. And never saw the thing again, whatever it was.
So whatever he found was turned over to the American military somehow.
Yep. Yeah, and that was probably the last anybody ever saw of it.
Yeah, a lot of people never seen it to start with.
Yep. Wow.
That's amazing.
Oh my gosh. Let's see. Oh, I got to get rid of a couple of posts here. There's some idiots out here posting stuff that I got to get rid of here. All right.
Don't make sense. Huh?
Yeah, there's some people that see, we're open to the public on YouTube.
Yeah.
There's some people that put some stuff that's inappropriate out here, so I had to get rid of them. Let's see.
That's true.
So here's a question: do you know of anybody that's been out kind of looking in that scuba diving that area recently, or in the past, say, past 20, 30 years, non-military that have gone out just to look to see what they could find? We need to get Tony Sampson.
With the Cusco with ocean mysteries were to come here to, and that's what they was coming here, is to dive on that site, but they never did.
Wow. Okay.
My opinion is Ottawa called the movie company and told them definitely don't dive there.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Now, Laurie, I have a question. This is going to bring it up, but in essence, the Awoken one would like to know: were you ever visited by military, or
no,
or men in suits?
I've never been visited by nobody. Okay. Yeah, the men in no, I never received no warning from Men in Black and nobody, but the Men in Black. That's what before I belonged to it or wasn't around at the time. The Men in Black showed up at the museum.
They'd have showed up.
They had in two big black limos. Men in Black. They showed up at the museum. Come in, looked around to see what they had for information. Talked to the people there and left.
Wow.
How long ago was this?
10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Now I wanted to show.
Since they bought the museum, they've got here now. I think they bought it in 9. So.
Wow.
I don't know about that. They come when I was in Africa. I wasn't even around here at the time.
So Laurie, when the Men in Black were or these persons of interest were in your museum, did they ask questions or did they just look around?
I wasn't there, but yes, they did. They did talk to the attendants. They come look to see what there was there, but no, I wasn't there. But they definitely were there.
Wow, that's unbelievable.
And now I've got a photo here, if I can get it to come up. Let's see. There it is. Okay. This is I'm going to show this real quick. This is a report from that time. This from October 7th, 1967. And this is unidentified flying objects sighting of Sambro Light, Nova Scotia.
That's all the lighthouse off. That's the Halifax Harbour.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's Halifax Harbour. Okay.
Yeah, it says at about 9 p.m. on October 4th, 1967, I noticed an object with 3 flashing red lights. Radar indicated this object to be 16 miles away. It was very
that's
clear.
The same one you talked about before. That's on the fishing boat, the Mersey.
Oh, okay, yeah.
All right, keep going. Yeah.
It said it was very clear that night, and we could see the lights of Halifax. At the time, our boat was 32 miles south of Sambro Light, and the object was approximately 16 miles northeast of us. I would say the object was 16 miles southeast of Sambro. At times, the U.S. or at times the Navy, not U.S. It says at times the Navy do a lot of practicing in that area. At the same time, there were 3 other objects on radar at about 6 miles from the first object. I would say it disappeared about 11 p.m. when it went up into the air. I could not see any shape or form to it because of the distance. When it went into the air, it only had 1 flashing light. While the object was on the water, while the object was on the water or close to the water, it had 3 real bright flashing red lights. And the lights were, it says all the lights on it were red. I could not see any lights on the other 3 objects as they were only appearing on our radar.
Whoa.
So they were flying without any lights, of course.
Well, they might have been far enough away you wouldn't see a light.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
It is not unusual to see the Navy or aircraft dropping things into the water there. I had never seen anything like that before, but it sounds like the thing they are looking for down off Shelburne or the Barrington Passage. When the object left, it went straight up in the air with only 1 red light, and that was Captain Leo H. Mercy. And that was his from his boat. That was a fishing vessel, right, Laurie?
Yes, it was a Scotland drag, as far as I know.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
So when they saw them, they were out at sea, and it started off about 9 p.m., and then that was it. They were gone. and he's making the assumption that then this is in relation to what you saw later on that night.
Could be, might not be. Who knows?
Yeah, who really knows for sure? But it's a coincidental that
Definitely he sees something. Is all I know. Yeah,
and it happened on the same night.
Yeah.
That's the thing about it. Yeah, that's very interesting.
But there's reports of the same night of lights being seen up off the Yarmouth by Heron Sainus. There's lights being seen up off the Sambro, that's up off of Freeman that same night.
Yep.
And like I said, there was 12 calls hit of the RCMP. Everybody reported a plane crash. But I know a lot of people who see it and never reported it. And like I said, David Kendrick was one of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now you mentioned we were talking about the museum. Now you have a museum there, and you're also what was your title again on the what was that, John?
Laurie, what's your title on the at the museum?
I'm just a chairman.
the chairman of the
Shag Harbour UFO Incident, I believe.
Just Shag Harbour Incident Society.
Shag Harbour Incident Society.
Yep. And that is I'm gonna have, I think I've got a link. We're gonna get a link of there for that. You guys also have a big event coming up here pretty soon.
In October.
Yeah, I'm gonna show a picture of this real quick too, because this is
the museum is open in the summer from the June 15th till October.
Gotcha.
All right, so this is okay. I'm going to show this one here. Okay, so this is the crash site of 1967 Shag Harbour UFO, and this is okay. It's going to be October 1st and 2nd of this year in Yarmouth. Yep. And look at the guests they're going to have. Nick Pope. You guys anybody that's interested in UFOs knows about Nick Pope.
Yep.
David Marler, Ryan Sprague. Chris Stiles. And I want to mention Chris Stiles on this. Now, you know Chris Stiles, right?
Yes.
Okay. So anyway, this is going to be October 1st and 2nd. If anybody wants to swing by and check this out, I would love to be there for this. I don't know if I can make it, but I would love to go. But this is going to be the Shag Harbour UFO Expo 2022. And go ahead, sir.
Can you see that brochure?
Yes.
Yes.
Interpretive Center. Okay. Yep. All right. Let me see if I can pull that up. Let's see. Shag Harbour.
That's ain't a new brochure. This is an old one, so.
Okay.
The dates ain't right on it, but most of it is. I'm trying to get it so I can see it. There. Yep. And like I said, we're on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay, this is it here. I've got okay. I think I've got
back up there.
Is this the picture of the place right here?
Yes.
Okay. The Shag Harbour UFO Center. Oh, and it's got it looks like you had something going on last year, October.
Oh, that's for this year's.
Okay.
The date has changed. I should say 2022 on it.
Gotcha.
Interesting.
That's a project. A school girl did for a project.
Oh, really? That's cool.
We've had a number of them, so.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's kind of neat to get the young people involved in this. And like you said, you were what? You're 16 when this happened, and you
17. I'd have been 18 the end of the month.
Okay.
Wow.
This is really interesting. There's a lot of good stuff inside here, and this is right. Where is this located? Is this in Shag Harbour?
That's in Shag Harbour.
Okay. Yeah. Look at all the information they have in here. It's just, and then some more things that kids have done. Looks like painting.
Oh, a lady painted them.
Oh, a lady. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I love this one.
Yeah, that's the lobsters a municipality had. They got them everywhere. Anybody could get one and paint on it whatever they wanted.
That's neat. Okay, here's a picture of it. Yeah, somebody's drew or painted this.
That's she cool. Done that. That was the lady that painted that has passed away. So
right. Okay.
That's the sign. That's the sign that's there now, and that's all faded.
And that's basically right there on the beach by where.
That's right where light was seen in the water, right off of there. Yes.
Wow,
that's great. That is great stuff. Oh man, I got it. When you're going to be up there pretty soon, you're going to have to stop by.
I'm going. I'm absolutely going.
Wow. Yeah, so folks, you got to stop by and see this. I tell you, this is really, you know, what I'm going to ask you to, and again, I know you don't know for sure, but I'm going to ask you, what is your opinion? What happened to this particular craft? You're sure that it wasn't an airplane. You saw it hovering over the
I
water.
got no idea what it was. All I know, we see lights and thought it was an airplane at the time.
Now, is it
To
your
think about it later?
Yeah.
What it was there that could fly that small?
right?
What happened
Exactly.
to it, I don't know. Whether it went on its own or the American military come got it, or they got parts of it and some of it went on. Who knows?
Right.
If you
Wow.
listen to Normie's story, he see two. There was two there. So
Okay. So yeah. Some people are chiming in. I guess Linda Simmons seems to know about this a bit.
you
She's
probably
made a-
know me. I know a few Linda Simmonses, but I can't figure out which one. That's the way she lives. She probably have me. So
Let's see. Nobody was really talking about you. Okay, she's got a couple comments that she's made here. Go ahead. Pull that. There you go. Linda, do you know our guest, Laurie Wickens? Do you know him? Give us a shout out if you know him. This is funny. Most of the he said most of the time info came out much later. Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, it definitely does. And this has kind of been dubbed the Nova Scotia Roswell incident. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really does. She lives in Newellton.
okay, yeah, keep on.
And yes, you know me. Oh, and she said, yes, you know me.
That's why I'm thinking of it. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And she knows about this too. So obviously that's really cool. I had no idea. Maybe she was one of the ones that said we had to talk to Laurie about this.
There's so many things that just don't make sense with this. The military, U.S. military being involved, the lights, the movement of the craft. No craft in 67 moves like that. We're going up and down. I mean, are you aware of any craft during that time, Laurie? No. And the fact that the Men in Black have shown up, and there's certain things just don't add up.
It's the only one in the world that come down. It's the only one in the world the government officially admits something happened, and they officially admit they searched for it.
Yep. But they will not say, and they say they came up empty-handed. We found nothing.
They just say they don't.
Found nothing.
Right.
They come up with something. They know answers that they ain't telling us. So they
right.
Right. But they had to do a report.
If we ever get that, I know that in America now we've got the Freedom of Information Act, and some things are now starting to come out. And it would be interesting to find out more about this particular one. I'd love to talk to Nick Pope about this because obviously he probably knows a lot more.
You can talk to him in person.
I know. I've got to get up there for that. I really do. I need to be up there for that. There is, folks. There's also, I have to share this with you. I watched this the other day. This is it's on YouTube, and it's by Chris Stiles. Chris Stiles did this particular. It's a full documentary. I'm going to just show it briefly here. It's this one here, and let me see if I can full screen it. There it is. This is the Shag Harbour UFO Incident full documentary. It's by Chris Stiles. That's him standing in the picture here. And this is a gentleman that Laurie knows. It's about 40. Well, you see right here, 47:58, about 48 minutes long, and it is very good. It does cover, and he mentions Laurie in this as well.
Chris Stiles was 12 years old at the time. That same night, and he see a light down off of Dartmouth, and that's why I think that's where he is now, where you see that light back then when he was. That's what got him so interested in this. Other than that, that's his story.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a good watch. If anybody wants to check it out, I found it and watched it the other day, and it was very fascinating. And like I said, he does mention Laurie in this as being one of the other witnesses. But there's a lot of good information out there about this. But man, I tell you, I would. Talking to eyewitnesses here like Laurie is just that's
amazing.
That's a 1 in a million here to be able to talk to him.
I'm not sure if Laurie can show us the coins, but he did show us something pre-show, Jeff, which I hope he shares with us. I think you might have some pictures of it as well.
Yeah. Those coins that you have are very interesting.
I'll hold them up and see if you can see it. How is that?
Now that is it's enclosed in a plastic case. And let me see if I can find my pictures here. Whoops. Okay. Yeah, these are interesting coins. Now, these were made when again, Laurie?
That one there was made for 2019.
Okay, I've got a picture here.
That's the
This is
Shag
the
Harbour.
one.
Yeah, there's the Shag Harbour one.
Yeah, now this is the same coin that you see in both pictures, but now it's
The
a
one
black.
on your left, the one on your right is under a black light.
This one here, yeah.
There's a black light.
So the
Wow.
actual UFO disappears, and you only see the lights when you put a black light to it, which is very indicative of what we think happens. Many times we see. That's why I mentioned that earlier, because
The
you
light,
see those lights
the only thing they got wrong, them lights should have been 4 in a row
in a row, right?
Yep.
instead of like that. But that's the only way they could get it on the coin.
Yep.
Anyhow, and the lights weren't bright like that. They was somewhere in that color probably, but they didn't have the brightness. They were just.
Nice.
Very
These are
good.
really, really
And
cool.
if you got the coin, you look at it with the light, and you look at it, and
You got the other coins.
got it in your hand, you look at it, you can see the clothes and different stuff they had on.
Yep. Yeah,
They
exactly.
sent me too. I had to change them. The first time they sent it, everybody had the oil paint top inside the boots. I said they don't go inside. They had to change them, put them on the outside. And
There it is.
Yeah. Now this is with one with the black light shining on it, and you can see the lights, but you can't really see. You can barely see the object in the background. And like I
really,
said,
that's what you're supposed to see is the lights. You know what I mean? 'Cause
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why we always wonder when you see those lights in the sky like that, are they connected to one? Is it one object, or is it multiple objects that
Who
are
knows?
separated, but they just happen to be flying in formation or something? That's
That-
always the question.
That night, the 4 lights we see, I said that was all. I'd say they was all connected to one thing, but I could be wrong too. But I would say the way they was going, it was one thing.
But see,
Wow.
that's the perfect thing, is that you were there and you witnessed it. So we have to go by your interpretation of the
And
time.
when it was
and
going level, it was like that. And then when it kept to go down, it was like that. And the lights all went at the same time, the same as on one thing. So,
yeah, so that's why I would agree with you that it's one object with all the multiple lights on it. Yep.
Absolutely.
and there's a Clarenville, there's a Newfoundland coin if anybody wants to see it.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's okay.
Wow.
Oh, that one's really cool. I like that one.
They
we
got
need to do
a black,
picture
the
of that one.
black light goes with that too. It shows up different. You can see the red and blue lights on the police car and everything come on. That's what when you put the light on it.
Wow. Well, I tell you what, this is a fascinating story. It truly is. I'm going to need to get up there and see this. I know, John, you're going up. You said
Oh,
you're going to
absolutely.
swing by and check this out.
Absolutely.
You might have to be my eyes and ears on this. This was another thing that we were talking to Laurie about. There was actually a comic book written about this as well, and this is one of the pictures from the comic book.
Yep.
It shows all the people that happened to be, and like Laurie said, there was a lot of people that witnessed this. So either like he did, saw it going down at a 45 degree. He followed it along. It was following along the road, and then it went down, and that's when they seen it look like maybe hovering over the water. It was hard to tell. It was just that light hovering over the water, or maybe floating on the water. We don't know for sure because it was so hard to see. And he said it was several hundred yards out from the shoreline in the harbor there. But man, oh man. The coins, Jan asked the question about the coins. Those you had to buy those, didn't you not?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, you had to buy them, and they went fast. I don't know how many were made, but apparently they went really
4,000, and they were sold 2 hours after release.
Wow.
Wow.
That was quick.
Yeah.
Although I knew they was coming and we had a chance, I bought 200 up front. We had them to sell that year at the conference.
Yep. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, I tell you what, this is really fascinating.
I still got 3 or 4 left for sale. So
there was actually a picture. There's another neat picture that was taken by the sign there. Wow, the crash site. I man, and this is the thing, is that, like I said, folks, is that this particular incident, as witnessed by Laurie here, this is the perfect thing that we want to see and talk to people like him who were there at the time.
Absolutely.
We might have to get together with both you. Might have to do a second show on this and get
absolutely. Well, Jeff, the next thing I would love to do, if Laurie can give us the names of the divers, we can use Freedom of Information Act and try to pull it up.
Okay.
You know, and at least to get that information. So, Laurie, if you can forward that information to us at some point in the next week or two or coming months, that would be fantastic.
Yep. Here's another. This is a drawing that somebody had done.
Yep.
Shag Harbour fact: DND and CCG and RCMP searched 5 days for the UFO which crashed into Shag Harbour. The case remains open and unsolved. While the Shag Harbour incident is Canada's most famous UFO case, no one reported a UFO. They all reported what they thought was a plane crash.
Plane crash.
Yeah. Wow.
That's pretty amazing.
I mean, at the time, you think about that. You know, UFOs weren't such a big being talked about so much at the time. Oh, there they are.
There they are.
Oh.
Hold on.
There's the American divers, whoever they were. You want that?
Can you hold that back up, Laurie?
Huh?
Can you hold that back up for a second?
Oh, certainly can.
Okay, everyone getting those? Our viewers are getting those as well as me?
Yeah, it's on record, so we'll
Okay.
get it.
Cool. Perfect.
Just say I can mail that to you if you want it. Just send me your mailing address. I'll photocopy it and send you a copy of it.
Okay, sounds
and
good.
Laurie, a couple people have asked for the coins. I did catch. Do you have a couple more for sale? If someone wants to contact you via Facebook?
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So that answers that because people were like, where can I get a coin? So
yeah, Laurie does have, let's see if I can pull this up here. Let's see. Bear with me a second. I've got myself all out of sorts here with all my let's see. Facebook. I believe you're on you have a Facebook page, is that correct, Laurie?
Yeah, Shag Harbour where is it at? Yeah, it's on Facebook, that's all I know. Probably Shag Harbour.
Okay.
Shag Harbour Incident Society, I'm sure.
Yeah. ShagHarbourIncident.com. I don't know what that is, but yeah, we're on Facebook. We're on, I guess I don't know what that is.
Okay. Yeah, I just pulled it up here. It's Shag Harbour UFO Incident of 1967.
Perfect.
Yep. So Shag Harbour UFO Incident of 1967. And that's where you'll find that. Yeah, and it's got a lot of information here on it. So yeah, the great site. So check that out. And there's pictures of the museum. There's all kinds of stuff here. So yeah, very interesting. Wow.
Unbelievable, Jeff. There's so much to unpack. So much to unpack.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Did you have anything else you want? Oh, it looks like you're flipping through some more pictures there.
I have another one of the documents. That document there is one that comes from that first one I showed you come from Helen Chance that the diver threw in the garbage. I think this is here is one the RCMP threw in the garbage. Tells you about it. Can you read it? Because I'm looking through and I can't see what.
Yeah, we can see most of it here. Okay,
we can see most of it. Yep.
Yeah, it's on record, so we'll be able to go through and dissect that a little bit. All right,
screen capture that. Sure.
All right. Oh,
if you want it, I can mail it to you.
Okay.
There's 12 witnesses, 3 RCMP officers, type 4 sub, lights on water, and different names. That's got to be something the RCMP wrote thrown in the garbage in her house.
Oh, okay.
Wow. What an hour, Laurie. We really thank you for your time.
An hour already, I guess it is.
Yeah, that's amazing. This is amazing stuff, Laurie.
You'll have to come back. There's a lot of it we never got there, but yeah, no problem.
Laurie, you'll come back, right?
No problem, yeah.
Okay, we'd love to have you back on.
Yes,
and maybe doing some investigation of some of these names. And I know of viewers.
That's what I got. You need any more? You've got me. You can give me all that messenger thing there. You sent me to. So
Great.
Wow. Well, thank you very much, Laurie. This has been fascinating, and we are going to get you back on here. We've got to take this a little bit further. And I'm going to see if we can reach out to maybe get Mr. Stiles involved too. If you see him, let him know that we'd like to talk. Does he ever do shows like this? Do you know?
He's doing a podcast himself every Saturday now.
Oh, does he? Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
Oh, well, there you go.
Well, yeah, he's done a few more of these than me.
Apparently so. Oh, wow. Well, thank you, Laurie. We really appreciate
he'll probably do one with you. Yeah.
We appreciate
and
that, Laurie.
sharing your story with us. Yeah. This is fascinating. Really, truly is. And I think John's going to be, I don't think I can get out there in October. I think John's going to have to stop by and see you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%.
There's 2 more comics there. The latest ones that come out, the story about Shag Harbour in them. You can see them.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow.
One number 47 and one number 46.
Wow.
Wow.
I've had these 2 or 3 years now.
Wow. Jeff, I'm thinking when I reach there, I do a show live with Laurie and you from where you are, and we just do a show live from the actual center. If Laurie's up for that, I mean, why not? I can set everything up, broadcast. You can do it via iPhone. Yep. Perfect.
So, Laurie, one last question before we go. How do you feel about has this changed your life? You know, a lot of times we talk about in paranormal and we talk about in UFO type experiences that once you can believe in it, but once you've experienced something like this, it changes your life. Has this changed your life?
No, because we just thought it was a plane crash and just give me more something to do now to get involved with something to do, but it's getting boring too.
Well, you need to see another one.
Consuming and you can't get nobody to help around the museum. It's just,
oh yeah, see that I can understand. All right. Well, thank you, sir, very much.
This conference over with, and I don't know what's going to happen to it. They come along to take it over or not. But.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you said you're gonna. This is gonna be your last year, I guess, on it.
It's going to be my last year for chairman. I might still be involved some, but
okay.
I don't know who's going to take it over, but what's going to happen. But.
Wow.
Well, that means you need to come and see it now, folks. You need to go over there and check this out right away so you can meet up with
Hopefully
Laurie.
It's still there, but I don't know. Can't do it all by yourself all the time.
Oh, I know. That's for sure. Is it open on a regular basis? Is it
only in the summer? You can't afford to heat it in the winter, and you can't get.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if we're doing like Roswell, 400,000 or 500,000 people a year going through there. Yeah, you can afford to be open year round.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Anybody that's been to Roswell, then comes here, they say they can't believe that we ain't get between 200,000 and 400,000 people a year.
Wow. Yep.
Last year, no, not last year, 2021. 2020, in the summer of 2020, when this COVID shit hit the fans. It's the first year the government told anybody to go to Shag Harbour or something to see because they couldn't go nowhere else.
Oh.
About 10 years ago, Chris Dawes went downtown Halifax. I don't know who the government and the tourist people, he went to see him. They tell about Shag Harbour, and the words were, we're definitely not promoting Shag Harbour.
Oh.
Wow.
That's from the horse's mouth and the head of the tourist department of Nova Scotia.
Wow.
Wow.
Since then, they have changed their mind. They get more interested in it and whatever. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's also helps the tourism to get people to come by and check these kind of things.
You had 500 and 400. Let's say you had 300,000 extra people coming to Nova Scotia a year.
Yep.
Just ain't there is a benefit, and everybody's going to eat, and everybody's going to buy gas. That's just two things. Everybody's going to have somewhere to sleep.
So when you're up there visiting Oak Island, take a shot down to Shag Harbour to check out the museum and stop by and see Laurie there. Well, Laurie, thank you, sir, very much. We're going to have you on again at some point, and hopefully soon. But we'll be in touch.
Well, you got to say any questions about anything, feel free.
All right. All right.
Thanks again, Laurie.
Good night, sir.
Yeah, you got somebody else to go see. So
Thank you, sir. Take care.
Yeah, you're welcome. Talk to you later.
Yep.
You all have a good night. Okay, bye.
Awesome.
Wow, fantastic! that
it doesn't get any better. Holy Moses!
And we could go on all night with it, but yeah, we do have another guest that we're going to have on tonight.
Wow!
As a matter of fact, he is here now, and now this gentleman, as I mentioned before, Christian Roper, and he was on the very first episode of Beyond Oak Island. He is a diver. He is a researcher. He is an explorer. He is a treasure hunter. He is a man making documentaries about different things. And we are going to bring him on right now, Christian Roper. Mr. Roper, thank you for being on with us tonight.
Thank you. I hope my signal is okay. It's been all over the place today.
Yeah, it looks great. It's very stable at the moment, so that's great. Cool. Where are you right now? Are you back home or?
I'm back home in the U.S.
Okay. Yeah, I know you were down in Guatemala recently. Oh, there you froze. You froze for a second, but you're back now.
I went to Guatemala, which was pretty life-changing in a lot of ways. I was looking into a lot of stuff, actually, everything from treasure to the paranormal. I really got to experience a lot of the Central American lens of storytelling, and it was a very eye-opening experience.
Wow. Now, I know that, like I said, we had you on a couple of times actually on the show, and we've talked about your research looking into treasure hunting and things of that nature. with the pirateer Lafitte down in Texas. And now, when you went down to, when I first reached out to you, now some of this I know you probably don't want to talk about too much because I know you're also working on some documentaries. But your experiences, you said you were down in Guatemala, doing several different things. Can you talk too much about some of the different things you were doing down there? What are you
Sure.
allowed to talk? Okay, all right.
No, I can talk about everything.
Okay, good,
So
good.
one of the big reasons I went down there, um, because I've developed a particular attraction to the supernatural stories of Latino America, of Central America, of South America, of the Caribbean.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of this shares a lot of those same storytelling kind of tenets with the U.S., with the Western,
Oh, he
Yep.
froze up.
but where stories dominate, which is
Yeah.
cool. Um, Tonight, you also talked about a story having to do with Canada. How many other stories are out there with topics that we're interested in that we don't get to hear about?
Right.
That there may be a language barrier or a cultural barrier preventing us from hearing. So I've devoted really a lot of the past few years trying to uncover a lot of these stories.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see how, when you approach it from the right perspective, how um, readily accessible some things can be, and how
Mm.
accessible information can be if you do immerse yourself in the culture. It's very interesting, very appealing.
Yep, absolutely. And
And I
that's
know
really
Jeff told
fascinating.
me.
Oh, go ahead,
Go
please.
ahead.
No, no, go ahead.
Oh, I know you told me when we were messing, you were like, I really wish I was able to do that.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
And I was
absolutely.
just
Yep.
thinking in my mind, like after about 30 seconds of the mosquitoes, talking about it on a podcast doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's one thing. When you do it, when you are exploring like that, and you are going to different areas, people talk about going up to Oak Island and how many mosquitoes are up there all the time. But yeah, you are getting into not only that, the bugs and whatnot, but also because you go right out in the wild, right? I mean, when you're talking, because you make your way to different villages and things like that, uh to meet the locals and get stories directly from them too, right? So yeah, you're out there and you might be around snakes and all kinds of different creatures. But tell us a little bit about that. You mentioned that to me when we were chatting about this, that you actually were hiking out and actually going to talk to people in villages and whatnot to get information from them about Bigfoot or their equivalent to Bigfoot and things like that, right?
Yeah. So one of the primary reasons I was down there is a place called Lago de Atitlán in Guatemala. There's several famous explorers, mappers that have said that this is the most beautiful lake in the world. It's very, very picturesque. Three volcanoes,
Wow.
Doliman, Atitlán, and San Pedro, are bordering this lake. It's an old volcanic sinkhole.
Hmm.
And every aspect of the paranormal is included. Like I'll get
Wow.
into a lake monster legend. There are stories of orbs and lights over the lake, which I ended up,
Wow.
maybe having an experience with my second night there. But the cultural, like, demographic around the lake, it's overwhelmingly Mayan, Guatemalteco people. They are descendants of the Maya that were in the area. They're very
Right.
close to what was originally a Mayan capital
Mhm.
in Tikal. There are Mayan ruins right there. And these people just continued the traditional way of life along Lake Atitlán. And they've maintained a long-standing legend. There are multiple reports that when the Spanish arrived in the 1500s, they were very much on the trail of seeking treasure around the lake.
Hmm.
And there are also, rumors that this was one of the prime locations to where there were kind of whispers of this being the real El Dorado, if that did exist. It was not in Colombia. It was not
The
in
city of
Guyana,
gold,
not
right?
in
Wow,
Mexico,
the city of gold.
but it may have been here. But there's a long-standing legend around Lake Atitlan that some sort of city, magical city of gold, this huge, Maya city full of gold, sank into the lake. There was a landslide after a volcanic eruption that washed the city into the lake. And forever, it's always the thing to say that no, there's no way that's possible. There's no evidence of it. This lake is about 350 meters deep, 1,100 plus feet deep.
Oh wow, that's very deep.
And it's the deepest lake in Central America. But in the 1990s, divers on accident started finding Maya pottery at the bottom of this lake.
Oh wow.
And when I go down there, I talk to one of my guides, who was my guide for interacting with the Mayan people. A lot of people around the lake do not even speak Spanish. You think of Central America and you're like, okay, well, you have to know Spanish to get around. Spanish does not reach all of these villages.
Wow.
They communicate through 3 different Mayan dialects. I was on the western edge, where everyone speaks dialect called Sujil, and it's very, very pretty. I recorded some of it. It's a very pretty language, very, very different. But my guide told me, yes, there were some divers down here. You missed the most recent discovery by 10 days.
Oh wow.
Oh.
And it was the first big find in years. And essentially what happened was that they went down, they photographed what are probably thousands of pieces of Maya pottery at the bottom, like between 100 and 150 feet down.
Wow.
And so this lake has been named Samabach after one of the original discovering divers in the 90s. And it's in reverse piece back the story of this city that actually did end up in the lake. There's a legend of a lake monster called Chacona that lives in the middle of the lake and that affects the tide.
Right.
And so the tides are known to go up and down, and everything there is interpreted through the supernatural, through the lake monsters. Why is the lake level changing so much? Well, it's obvious because the story that our Mayan ancestors had of the lake monster, he's emerging from the depths, and that's causing the lake levels to rise. And they're very kind of aware of a lot of legends, and in a modern way, you'll still find you take to cross the lake, you go on these boats called lanchas, and a lot of them will avoid going across the center of the lake out of respect for this lake monster known as Chacona, and they'll go along the sides. And then I listened to some stories of this lake and the supposed city that went in. In addition to that, there's something called El Sisimite, which is sometimes known as the Mayan Bigfoot.
Oh, okay.
And this goes back quite a bit. There are even missionary journals which talk about the giant apes that throw rocks.
Oh,
and these are hundreds and hundreds of years old. And it's known by many different names, many different similar spellings and stuff like that. Even the renowned primatologist Jane Goodall, when she was in Ecuador, she heard stories of several hunters about an upright primate, and she even pondered the existence of these. And one of the things I wanted to do in my time there was just put out feelers. If I mention the name, do they laugh about this, the childhood tale that they're told about?
Right.
Or do they say, hey, I can point you to this person? How far can you get while here? And it's, don't do this if you're not comfortable with being, out of your comfort zone. Because you're in a different country.
Right.
2 languages removed from what you know.
Wow.
I mean, you're barely communicating with this even middle person, this translator. And they're pointing you to people, and they pointed me to a lot of the more remote Mayan villages in the north. where they have supposedly many sightings, but they simply do not. There's not a lot of trade in between villages. There's some very inaccessible villages to the north of the lake that I was told about. A lot of it's very inaccessible. If you want to go anywhere in the rainforest, which we did a little bit, but you must hire guides with machetes, and there are many different parts of the rainforest where you would also need accompaniment from military or armed police.
Oh wow, yeah. So I'd be a little afraid,
often,
but quite honestly,
wow,
to head off to a village like
rumors,
that.
Often rumors of banditos and narcotraficos, like drug runners, going through certain parts of the forest where you would need the big guns for protection, supposedly.
Right. Yeah, I've got a couple
why
pictures.
I was there.
Yeah, I got a couple pictures that you shared with me here. Now, where is this exactly? Is this obviously on the coast, or is this a lake? Is this the lake right here that you were talking about?
Yeah, that's Lake Atitlan.
Okay. I can kind of see the other side.
Mountains,
so yeah,
very pretty lake. Yeah. This is in the village of San Pedro, which is southwest corner along a volcano. It's the most beautiful thing. When you arrive to what's called the Embarcadero, it's where all it's basically the docks.
Right.
Very similar to like a Brazilian favela, where you have all these tin roof complexes and restaurants, open air, built up on stilts, and it goes up as high as you can see along the slopes of these volcanoes. And I spent my time in the villages. The way that you get around is through what's called tuk-tuks, and that's the funny looking car picture that I sent. But that's the primary way around.
That one. Yeah, I'll bring that up here to show. Real quick, Tom Burns said he stepped away for a minute. Did you mention the lake was affected by tides? Is it connected to the ocean? I don't think it is it? Or is it?
No, the tides, it's a regularly changing thing, but the way that they explain that is through this lake monster that supposedly no one sees, but it's there according to them. It's called Chacona. And anytime something goes bad, anytime waterfront property is washed in, this water comes up, is because they've done something to upset this ancient Mayan monster that was.
So it doesn't change on a regular basis like a tide would. It just happens whenever, and
no,
that's what they attribute it to. Okay, all right.
So the lake is landlocked.
Related to that. Yeah,
it's landlocked. Okay.
Yeah. So why? That begs the question: why would it do that? Why would it change levels like that? Why would it have a tide if it's landlocked? That's really interesting. Yeah. Here's a picture of that. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
That may be related to that volcanic activity.
That's what I was kind of thinking. Yeah. Well, this is that little cart you were talking about. It's funny. What did you call this again?
I called a tuk-tuk.
A tuk-tuk. That's
yeah. This is the primary way of getting around in the villages. And it's the most fun thing.
I bet. That's really cool. And there's another picture that we had. I'm gonna grab it real quick too. There's several actually that you sent me, and these are fascinating pictures. This one right here. This is what I was talking about when you were traveling somewhere.
Good Lord!
I mean, this is why I told you when we were chatting about this, about the fact that I envy you being able to do this. I mean, here you are, you're Indiana Jones and get across, some native territory and going through the rainforest. Really exploring. I mean, that's fascinating that you get to do these things and do this kind of research. This is so cool. I mean, now where is this located here? This picture?
That's on the north side of the lake. There is just a bunch of empty territory with some bridges that will take you across a series of waterfalls. And through this is a back way of getting to a lot of the Mayan villages along the north, getting away from Spanish more into, I think it was the dialect of Cacal, where some of the younger population you will find with a intermediate level Spanish.
Christian, how far up are you right here? How far is that bridge off the ground, or what's it over? A gorge?
Oh, that one, 50 feet.
Oh, really?
They weren't the most secure bridges either.
I was gonna say.
Well, I'm looking
The
at
wood
one.
looked a little bit old.
Yeah, I'm looking at
You can
one
see
of the
one
planks.
was replaced
Yeah.
recently.
Can you imagine being on that bridge and your foot goes through that particular board, which is probably what happened.
Well, you see this board here look like
Yeah,
it
that's
was
what we're talking.
replaced.
That's what Christian's talking about. That board right there has been replaced.
Oh man. But still, I mean, and I'd be hanging on to something. It doesn't look like he's hanging on to anything. I'd be hanging on to the railing in case something happened. I got something to grab onto. But oh
Christian,
my
how,
goodness.
how stable was this thing? You've been across bridges like this. Was this stable? Was the wood in not great shape? Is that what you said? Was it in
Yeah,
decent shape?
they had some cable support.
Oh,
Now we do. Now, folks, for those of you who have tuned in here, we do have when Christian was down there, he did have a UFO experience, and he did send me the video. We are going to show that here in just a few minutes. I wanted to let everybody know that we do have that. We were just trying to get some of the background of what he was doing down there, and the exploring that he was doing, some of the research. But we do actually have footage that he took while he was there of a UFO sighting. So, well, we'll get to that here in just a couple minutes. Let's see here.
we got another one here.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that was from Robot. Yep.
Yeah.
This is fascinating. This is obviously this is on the lake here. This is like a little the Embarcadero.
Yeah, this is how Embarcadero.
Wow.
This is how the village is rebuilt to the land along the lake.
Wow.
The entire way of life was centered around the lake. All the stories involved the lake. Really pretty area.
Wow.
Vastly understudied in terms of science and anthropology and storytelling.
Right, I can imagine. What is this here? This looks like a place where you go to, like a ritual type place where you would go to for the religious background, I guess.
Yeah, in one of the villages, Santiago, you can visit this statue representation to a Mayan deity called Mashimon. And the traditional thing is to offer cigarettes and cash. And the local kind of legend is that if you offer him cigarettes and cash, he will guide you to whichever treasure you're looking for.
Wow.
So I went and I did this. We had the traditional Mayan prayers done over us, the Mayan blessings, and we made these offerings. And then after, I actually sent a video to Maddie and Rick Lagina.
Ah, yeah.
Saying that, hey, I'm down here. While I had the chance to do this, I threw in a couple extra cigarettes and cash for you guys. So it doesn't help to have a Mayan god on your side.
Oh, that's awesome.
So hopefully they get hopefully they get a kick out of that.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, you got to tell them. Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
good.
you put in a little something for them guys so they can find the treasure on Oak Island, right? Oh wow, that's great. That is awesome.
Yeah. So well, hey, if you didn't find it, that's your fault. That's human error.
Yeah.
We did all we could on our end. So
yeah, you did what you could. That's awesome. Wow. And that's one of the things, when you're down there in an area like this and you go through these, there are so many traditions like this one, traditions and, religious ceremonies. We've seen that when, Josh Gates, I love watching Josh Gates when he's going out and doing some, and I think Christian, I think eventually you're going to end up being the next Josh Gates, because you're an explorer like he is, and you're going around and looking into all this stuff. And if you do, let me know, because I definitely want to, help to promote what you're doing. But in that, he has done the same thing where he's in these different countries, meeting these different peoples of different cultures, and he's going through these same type of ceremonies, which brings that to light for us, the viewers, because I have no idea. I had no idea this is taking place. So this is really cool, and it gives us a way of learning about this through your representation and your documentation of it all. So that's really cool. And I really appreciate your sharing this with us, also on this. Now, let's see. There's got any more pictures here? This was This was an interesting thing that you sent right here. This was a picture from the Los Angeles Times. Extraterrestrials coming back to look for ancient Mayans. UFO mania sweeps Guatemala, keeping eyes fixed to the night sky. Tell us a little bit about the history of UFOs and whatnot going on down there. What did you learn about that?
Yeah. So this article was actually from 1989.
Okay.
It's not particularly an important year when it comes to UFOs. It's not 47. It's not 67. But the strange thing was that in 1989, there were so many sightings over this Central American country that the LA Times thought it needed to write about this in an article. So that in itself is notable. You know, why is the LA Times concerned with a Central American country? You know, how much buzz could there possibly have been around UFOs in the country? Well, all of a sudden, the LA Times is.
Oh, he froze.
He froze.
I only include that because some of that belief that the extraterrestrials, you know, are coming back to look for Mayans is still around. One of the interviewers in that article talked about his belief that the lights being seen over Guatemala were related to the ancient Mayan gods, that the extraterrestrials were of relevance to the stories of the ancient Maya, and that all the stories of the sky gods coming down to Tikal, which was the Maya capital in the area, all of a sudden, 2,000 years later, 2,500 years later, you know, these lights are back. They're looking for Tikal, which of course no longer exists.
Right.
There's this belief that, you know, you're not looking for us, you're looking for, you know, my ancestors.
Right. Right.
And that was still around. And my second day there, my first full day when I got to explore, I come to a Mayan Guatemalteco man that operated a stable in one of the western villages. And I asked him, same thing I asked everyone else, have you ever seen anything strange or paranormal? And he says, yes, white lights and blue lights over the lake.
Oh,
really?
You know, just about every week. And I, you know, took around with him. I said, today's like, is it extraterrestrials? And he goes, what is it? What is it? It could be. It could be.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And that was my favorite interaction the entire week. And that night, upon returning to the northeast side, we were staying in a town called Solola, which is the capital of that department, of this state of Guatemala. And my living arrangement was a bedroom, and then there's this outdoor shower. So if I want to shower, I've got to walk outside on this outdoor balcony. There are plants everywhere, every insect and bird imaginable you could hear. The middle of the night, you know, it's these tin roofs. All the neighborhood dogs and cats would, of course, cut across my roof in the middle of the night. But it's around 9 o'clock, and I was going to take a shower. Fun day exploring. I'm walking down, and then there I see these 3 lights. I see an obvious triangle, and I'm looking at it. Of course, I've heard all these stories of glowing orbs over the villages and over the lake all day, and I still wasn't in that frame of mind. Yeah, you know, I just spent 8 hours listening to people. Hey, look for these lights. This is what we think they are. And then when I see them, I'm like, are those lights? I'm not really sure. I see the triangle, and then I look up to my left, and there's 2 more. And I have no explanation for what it was. They would pop in, and I got a 22-second video of it, much storage as I had on my phone for the end of that day. 22-second video. There's a 4th light that appears near the triangle, which I also do not know what it is. It looks like it goes behind something in front obscuring it. I believe it's the top tree, perhaps vegetation on top of someone's balcony.
Right.
I think it goes and hides behind that. There are 3 lights straight to the north that formed that triangle, and then the two to the left were towards the northwest. But this is over kind of uninhabited part. This is right above the mountain crest. But this
That's what I
was
was going to ask.
uninhabited.
If
Yeah.
what was, because obviously and I'm going to show this here in just a second. But that's what I was going to ask, is what, in the daylight, what was there, in this background. So this was over top of any kind of mountain or hill or anything like that you saw during the daylight, right?
It was generally over, but it was not anywhere to, like, it would not have been touching it in any way.
Okay.
These were way off in the distance. I have no guess as to size. It was so dark. There are no streetlights that my phone was really struggling to even pick up any sort of light in the town. But it looked like it may have been past the town in the more open field areas. Hours,
Nope.
and then one by
There it
one.
is.
Over time, they would just flicker out. I would take a shower, come back outside. There would still be like 3 of the original 5.
Wow.
And then I would say, okay, I would watch them for 10, 20 minutes. They wouldn't go anywhere. I would go lay down. If I ever got up in the middle of the night, I'd go look, and now there'd only be 1 left. But it would maybe be in a different part. The locals, they didn't particularly talk about them moving. They would appear and stay still. And other than extraterrestrials, the other explanations a lot of people had was that it's ancient spirits, and that the lake, south of the lake, there's an area called the Hill of Gold. And this is one place that the Spanish thought that the Maya were originally hiding a lot of the gold. But it was a sacred place to the Maya because they thought this was the portal to the Maya underworld. And another explanation for a lot of the modern Maya in these villages is that is the point to where the spirits of like Maya kings go in and out of the modern world and the underworld, and they ascend from that area and from underneath the lake. And so that's where the stories of the orbs coming from under the water and then shooting up to above the lake come from.
Right.
Either it's extraterrestrials and gods, or it's the spirits of our ancestors, and the lake has something to do with the process of going in between those two
Right, like
worlds.
a portal of some sort.
Very deeply rooted in ancestor worship, the lens of how they do things. But it's very intriguing.
Right.
And the footage I got is not particularly going to blow anyone away. I got it, and I was like, I wish something more would have happened. But the amount of information I got that day, I just can't help but find it interesting and wonder. And I'm perfectly fine having something weird happen and not having answers. That's just as cool.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's show this real quick. And like I said, it's the whole, see lights in the night sky that look like, and it's like what I was talking about with Laurie Wickens a few minutes ago, talking about the fact that you don't know if these are connected to, a one particular object, or are they separate objects. But the fact that, like you said, that they just linger there for a long time. And they fade in and out and in and out. How are they doing that? So let's go ahead and run this. Let me bring it up, and it's probably going to play as soon as I do. Okay, let me stop it here. Yeah, it's only about 21 seconds long. I'll try to make it full screen here. There we go. All right, okay, so I'm going to run the video. This is the area right here where these lights are showing up over top of the trees. Yeah, and okay, so we're going to go ahead and run this real quick. And you see 4 of them there displayed. There we go. That's a good focus there. And then this one disappeared just now. And then that's when you looked up to your left, and there is two that are just hanging. There's actually one that's blinking. I noticed this one that's blinking right next to it. I'll run that again. Okay, there's the original 4. 2 in the center, one above the other, and then 2 on either right, and one on the right and left. And then you'll see that one just blinked out, and you wasn't moving. I mean, you didn't move at that point. And then there's got another little one right there next to this one. So, I mean, the first thing that people are going to say to you is like, oh, those are stars in the night sky. But I'm thinking, no, that's not, they weren't stars.
No, there weren't any other stars. There are a million of possible explanations to it. But of course, when you spend the day with locals who live every single night there, people that traverse every single village, every inch of that lake, and they tell you to look for stuff, and you actually see it, you can't help but wonder if it's the same thing that they're seeing.
Right.
But it's my first time seeing the triangle in the sky.
Oh,
I don't see it. So many people see it here. Seems like I went to a little bit of extra effort, but being able to see something like that and not being able to explain it was a really cool thing to experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's the thing is that now that we all, everybody, just about everybody's carrying a cell phone.
Yeah.
We can capture stuff like that pretty quickly. But at the time, you have to think, when you see something like that, you want to be able to capture it. You got to grab it, and that you could see how your phone was trying to get into focus on the lights themselves, because they're going to try to focus on everything else that's around them. But that's pretty interesting. Now, and then what I noticed again. Is the one, you had the 2 that were like one above the other, and then one on the right and one on the left. And then the one on the right, it actually just fades out. And you can see that there's nothing moved in front of it that we could see. You could see a shadow of something over on the right side. It didn't move in front of it, and you didn't move your perspective so that it changed, but it just disappeared. And you saw this throughout the night, how they were moving, disappearing and relighting or something like that.
Yeah, and during the night, it was generally concentrated in the same 2 areas. But for example, it would be like of the 3, the 2 on the right that made the back end of that triangle. It would be like the top one then went off after 10 minutes after I came back and re-inspected. Also, later on in the night, the 2 that were much further up in the sky, not toward the horizon or anything, the one that was blinking behind it, it ends up changing positions where you can see 2 obvious lights close together, and then all of a sudden the one on the left was no longer, and it was now the one on the right. And I didn't think anything of it, other than we watched it become 2 right there, and then it only stuck with the one on the right. The light on the right was of a slightly different color. It was a little bit more red. And I didn't think anything of it, of trying to, I could barely even pick it up on video. Low light, any camera was really going to struggle in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely.
I couldn't figure anything out. It isn't until you're sitting there looking at it, you can complain all you want about not getting great evidence, but it's not until you're sitting there looking at it with good equipment until you understand how hard it is to really document some of these cases. Really, the best thing of capturing UFO evidence is our own eyes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Our technology that we carry with us every day. I work in film and photography all the time. I know how to capture high quality things. But for this topic, late at night, is split-second encounters, even though this one lasted several minutes, split-second encounters, you're just not going to get the evidence that is required to change minds, to create real dialogue.
Yeah.
Christian, with the one that was in the triangle, were all those lights in sync, or were they separate lights? What I'm asking is, did it seem like it was one big craft, or were those separate lights, in your opinion?
Sorry, you broke up. Could you say that again?
Okay, sure. Do you think the triangle of lights that you saw, Was it one craft, or were they separate lights?
I did not see anything that would make me feel like it was one craft.
Okay.
And what was bothering me was that I kept having skepticism in my mind. You know, this was happening, and I was still like, this is not one of the triangles that everyone else is seeing.
Right. Yeah.
Because everyone else looks up, and it's like they're below it. And so this thing is horizontal, perfectly triangle, and they're seeing it like that. And I was trying to picture, if this was a craft, would it be on its side? Why are these two lights
Exactly
looking like it's in the same line, but why is one slightly off? So it's if it were part of a tower, this is not two lights along the same vertical tower.
Right.
And I couldn't. I would lean toward no for it being a craft like that.
Okay.
You know, I saw a comment right here that was talking about, you know, why are these lights on these things? Like, if it were UFO, would it even want to be seen? Why is it?
Right. Yeah.
Why is it wanting to be seen? That's a great question. Why are a lot of these lights very similar to our own aircraft? You know, why would extraterrestrials be following FAA guidelines?
Right.
It's a good question to ask, and it's also important to say that it's okay not having any answers. It's okay not knowing. And I'll never, if anyone comes up with great explanations, I will never say, you know, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. This is obviously what I saw. I heard a great quote. I was listening to Coast to Coast AM, some old episodes earlier today. I heard a good quote from Art Bell that says, you know, you can debate all you want. You can be as polarized as you want. But there's no point in debating if the ultimate goal on both sides is not determining the truth.
Right.
Wow.
At some point, you should have debate on determining the truth. I will debate with the most skeptical person in the world. But ultimately, we should both have the mindset of, okay, we may compromise quite a bit our own positions, but we should go toward determining what it is, not ever trying to, just for the sake of argument, create tribalism and say, this is what I think it is. I'm going to try to convince everyone else. But it's very interesting. I just loved that I was able to see something that I personally could not explain.
Wow.
In a place of so many stories. It felt very special to see, even if there's no connection to what others are seeing. Mere coincidence. I don't mind that at all. I was just very excited to be there in that moment.
Oh, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Listening to so many stories, having it happen.
Yeah, and that's the thing that, you know, we talk about UFOs. I have seen UFOs. Now people would say, "Oh, you've never seen a UFO." Now, to me, and this is what people have to grasp, is that I could not identify what it was. It was a light in the sky. It was moving in the sky, and it was not moving away an airplane would. It was not moving, or, you know, didn't have flashing lights like an airplane, and all these kind of things that I could identify. To me, it was unidentified. I could not tell you what this was. So it's a UFO. It's unidentified flying object, or now they're calling them UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. So that's in. So to me, that was a UFO. These to you were a UFO. You were there, and you witnessed this. You were not able to make a determination of exactly what it was. Hence, it's a UFO. And
in
now,
Spanish-speaking countries, they're called ovnis. OVNI. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
No identificado. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
identification because that's what you called it when you first sent that to me. And I thought, what is that? I had to go look.
If you ask someone if they've seen a UFO, they'll never know what you're talking about. But if you ask them if they've seen OVNI, they'll immediately know. So it's another one of those things in the future. Every country has their own classifications for things. Every culture has their own boxes that they put things in. And unless you really become one of the locals and study how they would interpret things, you would never know.
Yep. That's exactly right. Wow, this is pretty cool. Are you making plans to go back down there anytime soon?
Man, I would love to go back. Just for the people, nicest people. I think I would absolutely love to. I don't know if I could go back and not dive.
See, yeah, that's what
Once I
I know
saw the
you're a
blue
great
water.
diver, so yeah, yeah, that would be definitely you would definitely want to get into the water and go down and to search for that the city of that. That's such a fascinating story about the city of
Yeah.
gold that just basically slid into this lake.
Wow.
And you said this lake is 11,000 or 1,100 meters.
About 350 meters, 1,100 feet deep.
Okay, all
But
right.
it's about 100 feet where they're finding all this pottery.
Right.
And they've got several expedition teams that will come down and go down and find pottery, and it's very hotly protected, hotly, contested on who can be involved with this, because this may potentially be the next big discovery.
Yep.
Whether there's treasure there or not, or this is just an unknown mine.
Well, a lot of these types of traditions are based upon a
real
true
potential
story.
there for
Yep. Yeah, you broke up on us there just a little bit while you were explaining
Yeah.
that. But that's it. Most of these legends are based upon a story. You might have been added to, or give it a little bit more, made it more flowery or whatever at some point. Go ahead. You look like you want to say something.
No, I was going to say why we have Christian. I would be amiss if I didn't ask about the paranormal activity he saw in the area as well.
Yep.
Christian, did you see? You said you saw paranormal activity in the area. Can you speak of maybe something you witnessed or saw or heard or experienced?
Could you repeat that?
Sure. Sorry. The paranormal activity in the area. Did you see any? Was there anything that you've seen in the area while you were there?
I grew up particular interest to the southern edge and the treasure stories involved there, particularly around what's called the Hill of Gold. I do not believe there's any gold at this location, but just the stories about the Spanish coming to search. A lot of times, particularly with the Spanish Inquisition and the treasure stories that came about from that, it was merely mistaken identity. Stories came about in reverse. It was not having rumor of something and then the Spanish looked into it. It was the Spanish looking at all these locations. All the locations that they then looked into bred legends about them solely because the Spanish looked. Hundreds of years later, people say, "Oh, well, the Spanish looked. It must be here."
Yeah, that makes sense.
The Spanish tried to hoard multiple continents for what they thought was there, and even though they were particularly wealthy for that time, just the amount of things that they tried to look into, even take for example the story of El Dorado. There's no real evidence that came of that, and a lot of it is just based on the Spanish looking. But most of the legends of that area came about because they had stories of Spaniards seeking gold in that area.
Right. And we know that they did. I mean, there's much documented stuff that came about because of like the 1715 fleet. We know that the Spanish went into and basically went into I'm at a loss for the name of the cities, but went into there and basically defeated them and took all their gold and everything, any treasure that they had, hauled it out of there and was taking it back to Spain. And some of those ships sunk on the way out of there. Hence the 1715 fleet, which was also a Beyond Oak Island episode that we talked with Robert Westrick. And he took us through all that. He's a diver off the coast of Florida. And they were going through that. There was 11 of the 10 of the 11 ships, or 11 of the 12 ships. I think
it was the Concepcion. Is that right?
Well, the Concepcion was in that same grouping, I think.
Yes.
So we know that they were plundering as much gold and defeating these people, and so that where I'm going with this is that you can almost believe some of these stories that come about, like you just said. It was them looking in this area, and then a story is of tribe are made up for what they were doing. But you can almost believe some of it because of what they were hauling out of there. And it's unfortunate to the people. I mean, I feel really bad for what took place because they literally went in there and defeated these people and stole everything they had, all the gold and everything, and they hauled it out of there. That's a tragic story. But so because of that, you can believe these. It makes these stories more believable, I guess, is what I'm trying to get to with all of that. So, is there a lost city of gold? Probably not in that respect. If you've seen thinking of everything made out of gold and whatever now sitting on the bottom of a lake. So, is that possible? No, but there's probably some sort of a story that is true that was added on to and embellished to come up with that. So that makes it more believable. But one thing we got to talk to you about, and John just mentioned it to us. This was one of the things you mentioned right at the end of our chat conversation, and we got about 10 minutes left or so, and I wanted to bring this up. You mentioned something about Skinwalker Ranch in the Uintah Basin in Utah. What do you got going on out in Utah? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
So
and again, I don't want to put you in a corner where you can't talk about it. Yeah.
No, I will. It's a place I've always been interested in.
Me too. Yep.
The entire basin, whether the activity stops around the fence line of the 480-acre ranch.
Yep.
It's to be determined. We are actually going to a ranch that borders the Sherman Ranch. We've been invited for a documentary project.
Wow.
And we're in a unique situation because this is one of the first major efforts to do anything on this specific property that is bordering the ranch. So it's really interesting to see if the same phenomenon carries over to the neighbors. I've heard stories that it definitely does.
Wow.
But the owner ended up getting involved because he had picked up a man. In terms of storytelling, it's a great introduction to.
Yes, it is. Go ahead, please tell us. This was
but
great.
he had no care for the supernatural. He ends up picking up a native man, this elderly man, picking him up on the side of the road. It looked like he was walking kind of funny. Led him into the truck, and then as soon as the man gets into the truck, he wakes up several miles away. Several hours later, he's discovered by reservation police, and they think he had been drinking. And he says, "No, I just let this man into the truck. Had these very dark visions for half a second, and then I woke up here." And they say that he's not drunk, and then reservation police says, "You you picked up what's called a skinwalker. We've seen this before quite a few times." And then after that, he pleads his wife. This tells you that she's the best wife ever, but he pleads to his wife. He says, something happened. We have to buy a property out here. And they ended up finding one right next to the ranch. And now it's kind of his life interest to invite scientists out, to invite different crews out, and do the exact same thing that's going on with Skinwalker. If this area is truly, and I'll be coming at it with a strictly documentary perspective. I do not know what goes on there.
Right.
I do not know the validity to his story at all. I'm strictly here to tell a story and what happened to him and his interest in finding out what goes on there.
Right.
What is with these strange activities? What is it? Is it all related? It's a really unique opportunity to do something different. The secret of Skinwalker Ranch and all the documentaries about Skinwalker Ranch have gone one way. Perhaps this ranch decides to go a different completely different avenue
Right.
with how they approach the science, with the different sciences that they pursue. But it's a really unique opportunity to hopefully experience some stuff, come away with a few stories,
Yep. Come up
and
with some evidence. Yeah.
Wow.
maybe come home a believer in something.
hmm
I with every story I want, without every story that I look into, um, I don't, I never want to come away with answers. I just want to come home saying that there's some mystery here. This may be completely human driven. It may be everything with Skinwalker Ranch, maybe nothing, it may be hysteria, but there's still a story there. There's still a mystery there. And why are people
Absolutely.
continuing this?
hmm
Who picked this area? What was this starting point with all of this?
Wow.
So if I can come home and come away with a project that convinces me that there's some sort of mystery, I think that's an overwhelming positive in my mind.
Yep. Absolutely.
And
You
yeah,
know, and
this comment, I will not. We won't pick up any strangers. That's the first rule.
Yeah, don't pick up any strangers for sure. Yeah, that's and that's the thing I was going to say. Listening to what you were just saying about this property. Now, this is a property that borders the Skinwalker Ranch, the Sherman property in the Uinta Basin out there in Utah. Now, I had John, Jack Campbell and I that you met when we had you on the show last time. Jack and I, we went through and we did a recap of every single episode of last season's Skinwalker Ranch, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. And by doing so, I do my research and I'm digging into the stories and I'm digging into their research to see what is involved in their research so that I can understand it as best I can. In my going through this entire season, I am convinced, not necessarily that there are skinwalkers, but there is definitely some odd things happening in this basin. Now, they have saw, and I had, we had, um, oh, I'm at a complete loss for his name all of a sudden. Where's the black cowboy hat? Why am I at a loss for his name? He was on. Invited him on the show, and I'll think of it here in a second. But we invited him to come on the show, and he did, and we had a couple of hours with him, and it was fascinating. But he and I kind of talked about the fact that it was more than just Skinwalker Ranch; that it does encompass this entire basin. Things are happening all over the place. So chances are you're gonna Thomas Winterton. That's his name.
Thomas,
And I
yep,
knew it would
Thomas
come to me,
Winterton,
Thomas
yep.
Winterton. And I knew that something is going on there in this basin, this entire because you see it on a geographical level, and you see that there's a basin. When you're down in the bottom and you look out, you can see many several miles in each direction. And Skinwalker Ranch happens to be almost in the dead center. So if you're on a property bordering it, you're gonna see
There's going to be something. There's going to be something that happens.
oh
Absolutely.
yeah. So I mean, is it in the natives, the Ute tribe, and they have documented stuff going back into their culture, and that's where you have to talk to some. I know you already know this, and I'm just speaking to the choir here because you are a person that does documentaries and a researcher, but talking to the indigenous peoples of the area, those legends get passed on and they don't really get embellished on. Maybe a little, but not really get embellished on. They are pretty true to what they have seen and heard and experienced over many, many generations. So you're in for a treat. Oh my gosh. This is gonna be cool.
I'm really interested to see how it relates to that mindset that I just learned in Guatemala, that these indigenous people think that these strange occurrences are their ancient gods returning to some location where an interaction took place. It's they think it's coming full circle. So I'm really interested in doing research in the Ute stories of that area, the Navajo stories
Yes, the
of
Navajos,
the Southwest,
Yep.
and seeing how those relate. One thing that I found really interesting in some of the research that I did into Latin America was this idea of Nahuales, of the Nahuatl people, which were essentially skinwalkers. The Nahuales were medicine men. There were 4 ancient cultures of Central and South America which really dominate all of archaeology: is the Inca, the Aztec, the Maya, and the Nahuatl. The Nahuatl had a story of Nahuales, which are these medicine men that through dark magic were able to transform into either a wolf, a puma, or a jaguar.
Wow.
However, these, just like skinwalkers and what people say, these shape-shifting people were never able to transform completely. There would always be something left behind. And that the entity that they chose to shapeshift into, it would always be missing something. They had to have a physical vessel to shapeshift into. And it was how their spiritual way of explaining a lot of times like cattle mutilations and missing organs and stuff like that. But the Nahuales, when they would transform, their intestines and organs and sometimes other body parts would be left behind. And so when you find disembodied intestines and organs in Nahuatl culture, they would teach people to burn and destroy these, because when the organs of these Nahuales are destroyed, when they transform back, they're not able to survive. And so stories was basically sounding just like a skinwalker 1,500, 2,000 years ago, well before any of these books that popularized Skinwalker Ranch, well before the Spanish started documenting some stories of what the Navajo were talking about.
You're right.
But really, every culture has this idea of shape-shifting entities. And a lot of times it falls along the lines of there's not this perfect transformation. That's why what they transform into, the wolves, the size is a little bit off. Really interested in looking into it. There's Sasquatch stuff that goes along with it, orbs, anything you can imagine at Skinwalker Ranch. I really wish it was one thing so I could focus on it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And I was looking into a lot of stuff that the NIDS guys did with Bigelow, the National Institute for Discovery Science.
Yes.
And they would use dogs as biosensors, because dogs would be able to pick up and determine when something was going to happen. But what aggravated the scientists so much, and what science basically is the idea that random events will be able to repeat themselves in a way that's observable. And every single one of these events that these trained, highly academic scientists would study, these events never repeated themselves. When they got one thing documented and they said, okay, this phenomenon may happen in these conditions in this part of the ranch, something completely different would happen on a different part.
Wow.
So if something does happen, you can't even box that in. There's no way of understanding what it is. Who knows? All of us, I think, on the crew are going to go in thinking that it's something else. So if we're able to tie that into a storyline, maybe there will be some conflict there and trying to prove or disprove what may be there. Who knows? I'm just there to document some guys that are going down, and hopefully we'll find something.
Oh my gosh. What an incredible opportunity for you to do this. This is, I mean, again, I'm so envious of what you're getting ready to do, because I would love to be being able to do this kind of stuff. But you know what I do is I provide a platform for people like yourself to come and talk about these things. So I tell you what, man, you know, you and I have stayed in touch with each other. I'm really hoping that you know, once you go out there and you do, obviously, if you're putting together a documentary, you can't go and share everything, because now you've just spoiled the documentary. But boy, I would love to hear about this when you get back. So when is this going to happen? When are you going to be out there this summer?
Yeah, we'll be out early summer.
Wow.
That's fascinating. That is really, really cool. Now we're going to be covering Skinwalker Ranch again this year. They're getting ready. The show is coming out on May 3rd, I believe. That's the first episode. I think it's right around May 3rd will be their first episode for this new season. And again, we'll be covering every one of them and going through it. And like I said, because of the fact that I did this last season, I got this. I really got a great sense of there is something going on out there. There truly is. Some people watch it and they're like, oh, I just couldn't get into it. Oh, they look like they're just shooting rockets up in the air and all this. They're performing different experiments because they're really trying to nail down what's happening. One of the things, make sure you take a compass with you. Both take a regular old Boy Scout compass, like the one that I have, right here. Make sure you take a regular old Boy Scout compass out there, because something like this one, is a real compass, not an electronic one. Because when they drilled down into what they called their triangle out there on Skinwalker Ranch, when they drilled down into it, when that drill was taking place and it was down on the ground quite a bit, Travis's compass now changed away from north and it was pointing. They were clear across the property, and now it's pointing at the drill. Why is it pointing at the drill? What was it creating? It was creating a magnetic field that was causing his compass to point to that drill.
Yeah,
there's something going on out there, and
hopefully we don't have anything too terrifying. Yeah, we don't want them to be filming out there, and then during shooting they hear screaming at the ranch next door. That'll be us.
Yeah. I hear screaming and
unbelievable.
Oh yeah, that would you get your cameras over pointing in that direction. Oh wow, what a fascinating experience this is going to be, and I'm sure that keep your eyes and ears. Obviously, you do that, but I just say that for the show. But keep your eyes and ears open because you may see some interesting things out there, to say the least. There's the possibility of paranormal and the possibility of UFO UAPs, which they have documented out there. It has definitely been documented. Is there something underground? I was saying it has. I thought, because it's a basin, was that an old impact site from an asteroid or some sort of space object that hit the ground and has left embedded some kind of debris under the ground, deeply under the ground now, that's causing weird things. Maybe, I don't know. But I'm really interested to see what you find out there. This is wow, what a fascinating opportunity this is going to be for you.
Wow, amazing.
We'll be camping on the ground. And one interesting thing about the
intense.
One interesting thing we'll be doing is following the orders of the owner and the caretaker of the property, where he says you cannot shoot anything that comes on the property. He wants it to be a refuge for, if there is an intelligence there, he wants his property to be a refuge for it.
Wow.
Interesting.
It's an out there way of thinking, very interesting, but he's instructed his caretaker, anyone that ever comes on the property, if there's anything strange that you see, do not ever be aggressive toward it. Do not ever shoot anything. But we will be in the middle of this ranch. Hopefully that keeps us alive and shows us some interesting things.
Yeah, be very, very like when you have your senses open, because there's been times where people have had headaches. Thomas has experienced it. Thomas actually had some very traumatizing things happen to him, and they were all against drilling on the island on the ranch for a long time because of it. But now they've started to open that up a little bit again. But he's had some medical issues. Travis had some radiation burns, some burns on his hand that appeared to be radiation burns. So, hopefully nothing like that will happen to you, but be very sensitive to what may be affecting your body, or headaches and things like that as well. Wow. Man, what an opportunity. This is going to be cool.
Fascinating. Christian, when's the documentary due out? When's the documentary due out?
We should be able to turn this one around very quickly. Maybe
awesome
2 months after.
Oh wow.
We like to get stuff out early. We just filmed one involving a story of what's called Dogman. They call it Slewfoot in eastern Kentucky. We went out and talked to eyewitnesses in this one very rural community in Kentucky, about 100+ years of what they call slewfoot sightings,
Wow.
and did some stuff with that. We were able to. I'm working with the same guys. We were able to wrap that one up in a couple months.
Wow.
So this one really interesting. But we may put out even an open call for videos. That if anyone in Northeast Utah, Uinta Basin, has ever captured anything strange, no matter what it is, we're very interested in giving that some sort of platform of getting out.
Absolutely. Yeah. Junior, there was a gentleman, he's on the ski. Well, he passed away, but there was a gentleman that had done a lot of research, and I'm at a loss for his name now also, but he had gone around and documented over the many years information. So that's a great thing to do. Absolutely. Because, you're going to be there for a limited amount of time. These people have been there for many years, so they may have all kinds of stuff for you to see. Wow. This is really cool. Well, Christian, I'm going to get wrapping up here, but I tell you what, please share with us anything that you can. Obviously, you don't want to spoil a documentary, but whatever you can share with us, personal experiences, if anything, when you get back, we'd love to have you back on the show. So let's stay in touch. Fascinating information that, down in Guatemala that you've, captured down there, and now going to be working with Skinwalker Ranch. I know you're so busy all the time doing all this stuff. Wow. I would love to hear more about this Dogman. The Dogman. What did you call it again? What was it called?
That was called Expedition Dogman.
Okay, but what was that? What was the actual?
And
what
it was budget. Just go out with an eyewitness.
What do the locals call it?
What's the creature's name?
Do what?
The creature's name.
They call it Slewfoot.
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 Okay. Slewfoot. Yeah. I got to write that down. Slewfoot. How do you spell that?
S-E or S-L-E-W foot. Slewfoot.
Okay.
Wow.
It was very interesting.
I have to look into that because that is
the way in which they would speak about that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just again, I say I envy you because you get to do these such cool things. That is so awesome. But again, I'm a platform for you if you want to ever talk about that and get it out in another way. Is this documentary out now? Where can we find that documentary about Slewfoot?
Expedition Dogman is on YouTube.
Okay.
This next one will be much higher funding and a lot more pieces to the production of that one.
Okay.
Hey, Christian, do you have a YouTube channel? Do you have a YouTube channel?
I do. I do. I don't post on it.
Okay. Gotcha.
I just use it to follow. Yeah, I used to follow Jeff Joe, and not much else.
All right. Well, cool. Okay. All right. So I'm going to be looking for that. That's Expedition Dogman. It's out on YouTube, right? So I'm going to go find it. I'm going to link it in the description of the show here for everybody. Cool. Wow. Fascinating stuff, Christian. Awesome. Thank you so much. I know you and I are going to stay in touch as you go along here. But yeah, keep up the great work. I'm telling you, I want to hear more about, this Skinwalker thing. We're, like I said, we're going to be talking about the episodes. And I might have to make an expedition out there myself. Cause now that Thomas, Winterton is coming back on, he said he already told me he'll come on the show.
Wow.
We're trying to get, Dragon to come on with him, or at least on his own. Dragon's another great personality, but some of the other people that are out there to be able to really capture some more insights, because again, the shows, we get to see little bits and pieces of things. We don't get the whole story. And that's where I like to invite people on so they can really give us more of that story. So, wow. Thank you so much, Christian, for being here with us tonight. John, did you have anything else for him? Or
no, it was an amazing 2 hours. I mean,
what can I
say? This is crazy good information. Awesome.
Well, keep up the good work, Christian, and thank you again for being on with us here tonight. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. I love being here.
Christian.
All right. So, folks, hey, thanks for being here with us. For the folks that stuck around and watched, and of course, this will be out on YouTube for anybody to watch. And I'll send you a link of it, Christian, if you want to share it. So we really appreciate you guys coming tonight. Make sure you click on that subscribe button for us. And if you'd like to help support the show, we have our Patreon channel, which is patreon.com. And of course, my section there is jfree906. Again, thank you, Christian. Thank you, John, for co-hosting here tonight. Of course, it's you and I. It's our show. It's
absolutely.
We're both, hosting this thing. So, but thanks for being here. And again, folks, we will see you next time right here on Beyond Our World. Everybody have a great night. Bye now.